Hello and welcome to Faithful to the Traitors. My name is Ben and I am forever faithful. How has it been so long and I still can't say it? But I am a faithful. I just can't spit it out.
You sure?
Kirkland, looking at you.
Yeah, I knew you were about to say that. Hello, everyone. I love the fact that we've actually got it right as well. We normally just talk about I've just ruined it, haven't I? Hello, I'm Alex. I am also a faithful, or am I? Because last week I said
I can't remember last week.
In my mother tongue, French. It's not my mother tongue. That I was a traitor.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't realise I said it until after the recording.
Karine corrected you, didn't she? She phoned you up after a bottle of wine.
She's at home swirling Jacob's Creek,
wearing one of her many outfits.
We'll take a sponsorship deal, by the way, Jacob's Creek and Nissan.
Yeah, we can record a podcast episode in an electric car.
Fine by me.
We'll have a big banner underneath. We're not afraid.
Yeah. We'll do lots of gratuitous shots of the Nissan logo. We could put the camera a bit further away and have the car inside this room. We could have bottles of Jacob's Creek behind us. Mm-hmm. We could have McDonald's. We could be eating a McDonald's while we're sat here. I can have a McPlant.
Yeah, we'll take all
so
of
I'm
the
fine. I'm happy
all
with
of
that.
the advertising.
I'm a capitalist dream, as it's been discussed. I don't know if it's been discussed while the microphones have been on, but I see an advert. I want it. So I want that advertisement deal. So where are we at? Jacob's Creek, Nissan. Who else could we get? Apple.
Apple?
You get a deal with Apple.
They don't advertise on the Traitors.
Tim Apple.
We're in a Traitors bubble world, nothing outside of it. So.
Oh, okay. So who else advertises on?
Well, I think you've gone through quite a lot of free advertising already.
I know, they will get this for free. I mean, I don't think they can... If someone buys a product from these companies, please let them know that you heard this podcast and we'll be on
free
it.
Advertising.
You can let them know by telling them about our email address, which is faithfultothetraitors@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter @Traitors Podcast, on
still
Instagram
on there,
and Threads.
Twitter?
Hanging on Instagram @faithfultothetraitors. You can also search for us on YouTube by searching Faithful to the Traitors Podcast, or indeed BAM Productions, BAM. BAM Productions on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favourite podcast apps. If you want to help people learn about the show, tell your friends, but also don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and follow us. You can also give us a 5-star review if you enjoy listening to the podcast.
Or
you can...
4.
No, 5.
You can't tell people what to do.
I will, and I have 5. And you can go to buymeacoffee.com. Do you want to join me on my farm?
Yes.
Farming for love. buymeacoffee.com/faithful is where you can send us some gold coin to help us with the show as well. And don't forget, we also have a WhatsApp group. Just scan that QR code. Where will it be? Out. It's somewhere on the screen.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, there you go. Or you can look at the link on the notes, and if you scan that and join our WhatsApp group, it will let you know when new episodes come out or any other information of what we'll be doing in the future.
Right. Correction from update from last week. Obviously, Rebecca left us. We did her fact file.
Kyra's sister.
Yes. Or partner. No one knows.
Well, that was one of the clues, wasn't it, in the game?
It was. 2 contestants are lying. Anyway, so we were, as we do with a fact file, we then look at someone's Instagram for 5 seconds and try and make content out of it without any research. And her fact file said she loves her dogs. Went on her Instagram, no photos of dogs. Strange, confusing, worried. Because
we found out that she had a boxer, though.
Well, we found out more than that.
Okay, so...
Anyway, because I'm old, I forget that Instagram does have stories as well as photos. And obviously there was about 100 photos of her dogs on the stories under dogs.
I mean, stories have been along for a while.
I know.
Fine,
I know.
You carry on.
So it's a husky and a boxer. So we were half correct.
Oh, no, because I spotted one of them was the boxer. Did they have names as well? So people can steal them.
Do you want to find
Hi,
the
Rebecca.
names?
I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Well, while you're looking for the names, this has brought up a discussion point by a few of our listeners as well, or watchers of the podcast. And last series, when we were talking about the New Zealand traitors, we started a discussion. We started saying to people, hey, contestants of the show, do you ride a bike to work? And it was replied to by a surprising large number of the contestants of whether they rode a bike to work. Some of them rode other contestants.
Right, Tyson and Jax.
So we now know that Rebecca's dogs are named Tyson and Jax. And that got me to thinking, hey, contestants of the Canadian series
Universe.
2 of The Traitors, do you have pets? And what's their names? Mm-hmm. And do you ride a bike to work?
No, you're not asking that. Just the pets.
I need to know this.
No, the riding bike was last series. That joke's finished. New joke. There was the cat last week in the manor, cat this week in the manor. It links to the pets.
Yeah, but if we have a wiki page, people need to keep this continuity. They can say, and a running joke is, do they ride a bike to work?
No.
So do you have pets?
That's it.
Do you ride a bike to work?
No.
Get in touch with us on the means that I told you at the top of the show. And please let us know. We love discussing pets, as basically our producer Charlie can testify.
Yep. Producer Charlie, for anyone who's new here, is our black cat who produces this podcast.
Indeed, he is. Right, so on to the show.
Talk about Traitors now.
How many minutes in are we? And 6 minutes in.
It's okay.
So, so this episode of The Traitors, we had the murder. The first proper murder, I'd say, because I say Chris was not a proper murder. It didn't. Well, it wasn't right.
Still bringing up Chris, are we?
Yeah, of course I am. Of course I am.
Well, Mary Jo said you shouldn't have got rid of Chris because he was great on the challenges.
Well, Mary Jo said that
a woman wouldn't have got rid of him.
That's exactly what she said round the
round
table. And
I can contest to that.
A woman would never have gotten rid of Chris, which I felt like was a movement to the side of women's lib, but still, well done.
Mary Jo had seen 3 series of Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
A woman would never get rid of Chris.
No.
It stands up in
The
court.
lion.
Exactly.
So Dylan...
We all know what that means.
Nothing to do with Dylan. So Nichelle was murdered.
I know, I'm upset.
Which was the one that we all knew it was going to be, but we all kind of hoped it wasn't.
I know.
Former police officer. Police officers always do very well on the show, so perhaps a very good move to be made. Michael obviously didn't get his pick, which again wasn't too surprising, and again has run Michael's blood a little bit fiery because he's now still watching Nedda and Kyra.
He's kind of just sitting in the conclave. And like they're just talking and celebrating together, and he just stood there in the middle, like looking at them, like fist bump. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot you were here." So he is kind of. I feel sorry for him.
I think he had more involvement this time when we talked about the conclave. Well, he listened to his notes as well. Kyra gave him some notes, and he listened to them. She told him not to react so over the top.
Yeah, and he's like, "Did I do good?" And she's like, huh? "Oh, yeah, you did good."
Kyra was very sweet. Kyra went, "Yeah, you really did well, Michael. Well done." She was that one step away from giving him like a sticker and like a free sweet from the jar, like what teachers used to give you when you were in the primary school.
I feel that Nedda and Kyra are forgetting that he's there and not involving him in play.
Well, I did notice that when they're in the conclave at the end of the episode and Kyra and Nedda were like talking and like Kyra's eyes was at Nedda the whole time, but then as you said, kind of remembered Michael was to her left and kind of went ba 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 ba. You know, so that's something you only see if you're watching the podcast. That makes no sense. Can you imagine someone listening to the podcast right now going ba 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 ba? I have nothing to say. Anyway, Nichelle's gone, so you know what that means.
Oh, we're in already. I'm upset that she went because she was going to be one of my early favourites to watch out for, and now to
watch out
for.
Well, I could just add that Mary Jo was convinced that she was a traitor, so again, kind of solidifying a lot of people's thoughts. Yeah. And Pac-Man said that she was a savvy player and she could read body language.
It worried everyone.
Pac-Man was doing some body popping.
Okay, so
what's your name and where do you come from?
Nichelle.
What her name then? I was about to say Nedda. It's like, no, that's someone else.
Nedda.
Right, okay. Nichelle overcame childhood trauma by finding strength in kickboxing and boxing. Wasn't expecting that sentence.
Why do they call kickboxing when you kick?
But punch boxing.
Yeah. Why don't they call it punch boxing?
What, boxing came first?
So it's like football and American football, isn't there? There's the real football,
right?
And then there's American football.
I don't talk football.
There's Australian rules football, and there's
I think there's
Canadian football as well.
Don't talk about football.
Get in touch, let us know. What's your pets? Do you ride a bike to work?
Where she competed for over 20 years. Her determination to protect herself and others led to a 15-year career in policing.
I've just got this image now of Nichelle like protecting others by
going
kicking
up to criminals.
My God,
watch out!
Falcon Punch!
She also founded OTC Toronto, a fitness studio and online platform. We've got another fitness one for you to do. It's 2 workouts you're doing.
Nichelle, come on, bring it on.
You can do some police training with her on a day out in Canada.
I would love to do a ride along. Oh my God.
I don't think she's a policeman anymore. She's former
She's never been a policeman.
police officer.
Thank you.
Pivoting to become a co-owner of 416 Tactical Supply, specialising in tactical gear.
I feel like this is just it's like an advertisement for all her products.
Well, I'm sold.
Good for you, Nichelle. If you want to do a sponsorship.
You can do a workout with her. She can take you for a ride along and
I'd go
put
for a
you
ride.
in tactical gear. So you can blend
I love
in.
all of that. Do you know another thing I've always wanted to do, which they do, which is they don't do it. I don't think they do it as a matter of course, but I would still love to do it. Put on that really big, like bulky foam suit, and then they give you like a 30-second head start, and then have a police dog chase you.
Oh no!
I'd love that. That sounds like fun.
If you think that's not enough, Nichelle does more. Okay.
Oh, sorry, Nichelle. Carry on.
She doesn't have just 10 businesses. She has more. Nichelle is also an actor,
Oh,
an on-air personality.
of course.
On-air personality.
Like
very
us.
vague. And an influencer
Like us.
with 1.1 million TikTok followers.
Not like us.
So she does it all.
Good for you, Nichelle. You go, girl.
So
Snaps fingers.
I feel she was out too early.
I agree.
told you last week she's one to watch. Now she's been murdered. So
Your one to watch always ends up going.
no,
early.
it doesn't. It always ends up staying till like episode 8 or 9.
Not true.
Yes, it is true.
Worrying
you
number
can't
of-
rewrite history because it's recorded.
We should also mention that another trend is happening of female early deaths, where all the women seem to go out very early on in the show, and then we're left with men. The only difference this time is that there's more women as traitors. So that's interesting.
Well, the gays are going against each other. See, last week I was worried.
The gays are really going
I
against
said
each
the
other.
gays and girls need to team up. Nichelle
Yeah.
was my one to watch out for, and now this episode, it's all just gone wrong.
The gays are going, aren't they? They're like there's real hate crime going on between the gays. There's gay on gay hate, and this
cope.
is shocking.
I can't
Come
cope.
on, gays, we're better than that.
Watch out.
Radioactive man. So that caused a bit of a rumbling around the breakfast table. First off, then
Mary Jo showed her card and said she was suspicious
she was.
of Kevin. She said it to who did she say it to?
But this is a bit of a weird one because Enoch
wasn't
and
it?
Kevin were talking about Mary Jo. Mary Jo then went up to Kevin and said, "Oh, you, me, and Enoch should get together and be like an alliance," which was kind of confusing for Kevin. Then later on, Enoch was talking about Mary Jo.
She came
and when
sat
she
next
walked
to
over,
him.
he was like, "You did a really good job jumping in the game, Mike. Well done." It was like the worst cover ever.
I think Nick did the best jumping.
Nick's was Oscar performance.
He did backflips, front
And,
flips,
yeah.
rolls.
It was like, and the Oscar for over the top performance when an explosion went off goes to. Oh, I'm really nervous. It's Nick. Nick had a lovely time. He helped Mike out of the barbed wire as well.
Yep, twice.
Yeah, he was good. No, we
Yeah.
love Nick. We
I
love
do.
Nick.
I love his backflips.
Do you think Kyra was watching on thinking, that's my brother? But don't tell anyone.
Yeah, she was proud.
She's always
She couldn't
proud.
cry because she couldn't show it. Doesn't sweat. Nick still didn't sweat even after being blown up by a bomb.
He was. You couldn't have told if he sweat anyway. If he was sweating anyway because he was wet from the mud. Did you like the way they put on the Nissan cars? We can do it for you, Nissan. Just get in
100%
touch.
electric.
100% electric. Have you heard they're really economical?
But they're not very good if you get mud on the seats.
Well, unless you put a plastic cover over the seats, and then you're fine. You're absolutely fine. Also answered my question, were they driving themselves? And they were.
Yes.
It's just it's done in the steering wheel must be in such a position that they can sit back a little bit, and it just looks like they're just sitting there kind of like. Do you think there's like a cruise control?
The magic of television.
I don't think it's like a Tesla where it drives itself into walls, but I think that Nissan probably has assisted parking. Get in
Why are you
touch,
talking about
Nissan.
cars and football? Like,
Because-
know your audience.
Because I've lost the gay.
Yeah, they're all fighting with each
I'm
other.
too scared that they're going to hate me.
So, yeah, it was kind of like they were going to go against Mary Jo, and she
wasn't oblivious to it. She knew this was happening. And she later on lies and says that the person who told her wasn't unless we didn't see something and we saw an edit that was different to the longer extended edit. That
Well, this is what's worrying this series because there's two versions.
Yeah, because there was a weird thing with Melinda later as well. It was like, I'm going to bring up Kirkland's name.
Yeah.
It was like, just came out of nowhere. We were like, okay, well
I know,
done.
I was like, where did that come from? So we don't know if we've misranked in the long episode on Spike streaming only in Canada. Also, I'm annoyed that this the version that we watch that we get somehow.
Yeah.
I won't go into details.
Perfectly legal.
But they block the swearing as well, and it really annoys me.
I mean, it doesn't annoy me as much
No,
as
it
it
doesn't
annoys
annoy me.
you. Why
It
do you like a
annoys
good curse word?
Well, they're good for sound bites, aren't they? We all know the famous ones. So we are watching a short version. Yes, we do. I'm not going to go find them. I'm not playing.
Fine.
But yeah, so we're a bit stuck really because we don't know if things are just not edited in the episode that we're seeing. So please forgive us or tell us. We have had someone give us some information about what's missing in episode 2.
Episode 3, the one we've just seen.
Yeah, but the message we got was about episode 2.
Okay. I feel like we are caught up. I feel like the show hasn't put, because it would be a big mistake if the show didn't put something in there, because everyone needs to know why people get banished at the end of the game.
Kirkland stuff. Because Mary Jo said that he said something. He said, "You're lying. I didn't say it." But we didn't hear or see this happening.
But because we didn't see it, we didn't know. But actually, from the impression I got, I think Kirkland hadn't said it. I think Mary Jo just kind of threw out a lie, just to kind of hedge her bets, and thinking that he can't really prove it. So if it looks better on me, because she was fighting for her life around the round table, it was between her and Kirkland. Because we did end up getting a reason for why Kirkland got picked apart by Melinda, and they basically said that they'd been watching Kirkland, and Gail then kind of followed up with it. It was like, yeah, I've been watching him too, and it's like he's been protesting too much. He knew that he was getting a bit upset because he was making too much of a deal about that clue on the game about there being barrels in the conclave, and it looked too obvious that he was pretending he didn't know. And he's also that he doesn't look very surprised when people come back at the breakfast table in the morning. Like Melinda took the mick out of him as well and started saying yay, and that's like what Kirkland does when people start coming in. And so she had her reasons, she had her receipts, but I keep saying Melinda, I think that's fine.
Or they,
yeah, she or they.
He out of drag, whatever.
But they had a good reason for why they went against Kirkland. It's just that we hadn't seen, up until the round table, we hadn't seen or heard anything from Melinda until that soundbite just before this round table began, with her saying, I won't vote for Kirkland, but I might. And it was like,
going into the round table, it was like you thought it was going to be between Kevin and Mary Jo, and then Melinda went, I might vote Kirkland. It's like, okay,
yeah.
And then Kevin's name wasn't really brought up really, and like Mary Jo didn't really push for it.
Well, she did though, because Mary Jo saw where the tide was going. So Mary Jo, again, was the first one to talk around the round table. She knew that her name was being put out there, and she then started basically saying things about Enoch and Kevin. You know, she was saying that he's been lying to her a few times, and Enoch kind of then threw it back to her, saying, well, no, that's not true. Whenever I give you my theories, you're always very quick to agree. You're like, oh yes, that's right, Enoch. Yes, I agree. And like you say, she also said we need to look back at who was on death row, and she listed them all, and she said it can't be the two females because a female wouldn't have voted off Chris, which we agree with. But
could be proven in court.
Absolutely. But the only other two then left would be Enoch and Kevin. And
it's not Enoch.
And it's
for reasons.
Well, no, she kind of said it could be. She said it was one of them, but she kind of pushed that it could also be two of them if needs be.
One's a bachelor who you can't trust.
Bachelor Nation.
So. What's Bachelor Nation?
I have no idea. It's just on the notes.
We'll find out when on his fact file one day. Oh. But Mary Jo did lose the vote in the end, not Kirkland. It was quite unanimous, pretty much.
Poor Mary Jo.
They couldn't even edit in a way to keep up to the last vote. They were like, "We're just going to show you the next 10 votes," but they're all Mary Jo.
I mean, it was a landslide. Like Mary Jo got 14, Kirkland got 5.
Tranner went against Kirkland as well.
Yeah, what was that about? I can't remember. I can't remember.
Just going.
She said something which was really baffling as well about Kirkland. And I was a bit confused by that as well. It was like, where did that come from?
Oh, right.
Again, I don't.
But the traitors were just sitting there like, this is fine
Kirkland. The traitors were fine.
Yeah, not even brought up any. Not even Michael got brought up. So did a really good job, Michael. Well done.
Yeah, well done, Michael. Well done. You did a good job.
So Mary Jo's gone. Did you want to learn a bit about her?
Well, you can do.
What's your name and where do you come from?
Mary Jo.
We'll get it one day. Right, so Mary Jo, an award-winning TV host, best-selling author. Oh, yeah. And guess what else?
Podcaster?
No. Well, she is, but no.
Oh, hang on. Because it's the Trinity nowadays, isn't it? It's like
they have 100 jobs.
All famous people have to have a podcast. Mm-hmm. They have to have a book deal. What could be the third? A gun?
It's a profession. She trained in something.
Oh, dance?
No.
Acting?
No.
Singing?
No. I'm saying no. I've not read the rest of her portfolio.
A profession? Chef?
Oh, don't look at my screen and say chef. And trained chef.
No. What is the holy trinity of like famous people nowadays? Like they
Sing,
can't just
dance, and act.
No, that
Triple threat.
That's the triple threat, isn't it? But no, the new one. Like they all have to have a podcast. They all have to have a book deal, and they all have to have a record, like a song, a Christmas album,
A record.
a Christmas album.
Mary Jo has cooked her way through 800 episodes of lifestyle programming in Canada and the US.
Yeah, good for her.
800
What channel? What
episodes.
channel?
Don't know. Canada and the US. Probably CTV. She was the subject of tabloid fodder for 2 decades due to a high-profile divorce from
decades?
from Dean McDermott.
Dean McDermott.
Who's that? I'm going to look him up in a minute.
I'm
But
gonna look him up
since
now.
starting the podcast, Senior Bitches focused on, quote, women over the age of 55 who are changing the landscape around conventional aging.
Dean McDermott is an actor best known as a reality television personality with his former wife, Tori Spelling,
Oh, he's married to Tori Spelling.
and
is
as the
he?
host of the cooking competition, Chopped Canada.
That must be her 800 episodes that she was on.
He looks a bit like
Mm.
the our favourite Australian presenter. Don't you think?
Roger Corser.
Looks a bit like Roger Corser.
That's in 2011, that photo I'm looking at. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he was married to Mary Jo,
Jo.
93 to 2006.
Then a
married.
2-decade blooming divorce.
Well, that's because he
That's
was
a long-
married. Well, he was married with Tori from 2006 to 2024.
Gosh.
So that's the 2 decades. So
McDermott appeared in several TV movies, including Always and Forever, Santa Baby 2, Christmas Maybe, and A Christmas Visitor.
anyway, we're not here to talk about her ex-husband. We're here to talk about her, Mary Jo.
Yes, well, that's
her
exactly what the
podcast,
tabloids want us to do, isn't it?
Senior Bitches. So if you want to see more of Mary Jo, you
Or
can
listen
either
to.
you can either watch 800 episodes of her cooking
Which I would.
or Senior Bitches. So there you go.
What's that joke in French and Saunders when they do Joan Collins, like, my new book, Lucky Bitches. That's what it sounds like, doesn't it? This is my new podcast, Lucky Bitches.
She was on What's for Dinner on Life Network. So there you go.
Not the American Canada network that you suddenly made
No,
out.
no.
Okay.
No, the one I made was CTV, the one that
That's not
Traitors
made up,
is
that's an
on.
actual channel.
That's what I said. She was also a regular on Canada AM
No. That
and
must be-
Proud FM,
Proud. Oh, hello.
a station licensed to appeal to the city's LGBT community.
Good. Then I love
There you
Mary Jo
go.
even more.
Yeah.
What a star she is. So poor Mary Jo, she ended up being basically fodder for the traitors. A couple of things from that. Mary Jo and Melinda kind of both insinuated that if Mary Jo was to go, that it is basically the end for Kirkland.
Yeah, so what does this mean now that she's gone and she said, I am a faithful? It means that people are going to be looking at Kirkland?
Well, this is it. The fallout could have been any one of three. It could have been Enoch, Kevin, or Kirkland. But unfortunately for Kirkland,
The gays went against him.
well Tranner said that he nodded at Cedric
Oh, yeah.
and kind of acknowledged that that's another one out the way.
Yeah, that was we did our mission nod to each other.
Absolutely. Now, Kirkwood
Cedric tried to have a calm conversation afterwards and say, let's just talk. And Trina was like, no, I knew what that... And so there was no talking.
Well, no,
to her.
then
That
Cedric was
it.
like, I don't want to talk about it. That kind of old chestnut.
So-
But Kirkland has no... He's adamant he can't remember doing it. Now, there was nothing I don't remember, although please get in touch and send me a screenshot or send me a video of it. Although I could just rewatch the episode, but I just can't be bothered. Why did Kirkland nod at Cedric?
They
Because
did
never
show it. They did.
They did show it, so it did happen.
They looked
Okay.
at each other. But whether it was the type of nod that Tran was saying, that's an interpretation.
But the thing is that the fallout
A
after...
nod could mean 1,000 words.
The fallout after Mary Jo's eviction or
Banishment.
was epic. Like everyone was talking over each other.
Yes.
Everyone was getting upset.
Yasmin
everyone
was
getting
very
wound up.
upset. She left. She shouted at Kirkland and left.
Oh yeah, well no. Yasmin had a go at Kirkland afterwards because he said when they were having a drink of
What
Jacob's
was
Creek
it?
that Kirkland...
Really refreshing.
Ooh, really good. I mean, I don't drink, and I think it's pretty good. Kirkland said that he had defended Mary Jo throughout the whole round table, which again is like, obviously you didn't, because you were going for Mary Jo. And Jasmine's like, no, you did. You're lying.
Yeah, can't sit here.
Just went storming off. And
Too much Jacob's Creek.
Kirkland was the embodiment of the cartoon, like you pull your collar out and the steam comes out. Like Kirkland was sweating. Like he was having a bad time that evening. Like from the moment where Mary Jo said, I'm not a traitor, like everyone was piling on top of him. Which is good for Kirkland.
Well, who wouldn't?
I would.
Farming for love.
Farming for love.
Get me on that hay bale.
I was about to say. Poke me with that pitchfork.
The one good thing about this is that he can sort of sleep soundly knowing he won't be murdered because he's suspicion of being a traitor. So there's, you get an extra episode this way if this happens. So sometimes this can be a good thing when this happens because it means that the traitors won't murder you and you can kind of stay in and change their
defend
minds.
yourself. But it is tricky
if you
once that seed is planted. It's so difficult. And even if you can go 1 or 2 episodes where you're just kind of sailing by, it's always in the back of people's minds. And so now this is going to be on Kirkland's shoulders for such a long time. I don't think there's long for Kirkland. I think that there's
but
enough
he won't get
people
murdered.
there.
So
It'd be interesting to see how Cedric goes with this, because Cedric has defended himself against it, but will he go against Kirkland? And if that's the case, will that make him look even worse, or will that actually help him out in this occasion? Because Kirkland, we know, is actually faithful. So if
we know Kirkland is too.
Sorry, I was meant to say Kirkland, we know, is actually faithful. So if he does get banished in the next episode, it won't look good if Cedric does jump on that bandwagon.
That's true.
So it's a
then they can turn
one.
on Tranna.
Why would they? No. Because I actually think that Tranna and Yasmin have very good reasons to point the finger of accusation. Yeah. It's not like they're just making it out pie in the sky. They've got reasons. Tranna said that she saw Kirkland and looking at Cedric, which, to be fair, is something that could happen. And Jasmine has strong evidence for the fact that he's lying.
Nothing gets past those eyelashes.
No. She catches them like flies in a web.
She saw it all.
She just goes for it.
So when the conclave then, the traitors didn't really have much to discuss because none of their heads were on the table. They weren't really worried about each other.
Mike got his gold star, as we said.
Mike was there at the back of the room.
We should say Michael, because there's Mike. There is a Mike in the game. Michael.
Yes.
Michael.
It's not even Michael. It's like Michael John or something.
Oh, I did write it down.
They keep saying his full name.
It's just
Michael John.
Michael John.
Joe.
It is Michael John. Michael John. And the problem is that when I'm doing notes about him, I abbreviate him as MJ, and then I realise I'm confusing him with Mary Jo. So now I've got all kinds of notes all over the place, and none of them make sense.
But so they have to choose someone to murder. Who do they end up?
Well,
Pac-Man was one of them.
But I think before we go through the 3 that they decided on, there was one name that got brought up, and I think it made Kyra's knees shake.
Made her sweat.
It made her sweat.
For the first time.
Nick's name was brought up.
Yes.
And it was by Nida.
I was like slacking him off.
I know. So he's
a bit boring, doesn't do anything. He laughs funny. She was like nails.
Just if it'd been Michael John, I think that it could have easily been passed off, but no, it's been brought up by Nida. So now this is a bit of a tricky one for Kyra to negotiate. And as you said,
she didn't react though. She kind of just stayed stone faced and didn't. She wasn't like, no, not Nick. She just let it happen.
But it's what the reasons was as well. It was like, it sounded to me that Nida just wanted to get rid of Nick because she didn't like Nick. So I
Too
think
many backflips.
Well, he was a bit exaggerated, to be fair. When the
maybe he's
went
high
on.
energy. It's just annoying in the manner.
I'd love to see him as a role as a stuntman.
Well, if you look on his Instagram, he's doing stunts. He's jumping off buildings. He's jumping into pits.
Seen that. Yeah, he's loving it.
He's jumping in all sorts in costumes.
Do you think he's like one of those free runners? He just goes from building to building.
We'll only know when we do his fact file, obviously.
So Nick is in the radar. He's in trouble, and I think Kyra's going to have to now. I don't know. It's a tricky one. What's she going to do to kind of defend her brother, which they now know there is a brother and sister? Well, they now know there is a brother and sister.
Well,
in the game.
they know that there's 2 contestants are lying. Contestants.
Yeah, and then when they were in the car going back, it was Enoch who actually brought it up. Said it must be a brother and sister, and pretty much everyone went, "Yep."
Yeah, but they don't know 100%.
You know what I mean? Enoch's quite convincing, and I think Enoch's...
Yeah, but just because he said something doesn't mean it's...
Yeah, but it's true, though. That's the point.
Yeah, we know it's true, but they don't.
So if it's true, then Enoch said it, then it's based on truth, then it's more likely that it's going to get found out. If Enoch said, I think it's a mum and son or something like that, then people will be looking for a mum and son.
Well, didn't he
if
also
Enoch said it's a brother and sister, people will be looking for a brother and sister.
Well, didn't he also say that the only relation he thought was Kyra and Rebecca were sisters?
Yeah, but
and she's gone.
Yeah, but that's siblings.
So we'll never know, he said. Well, someone said, it's like, well, she's gone, so we'll never know now.
Well, we will eventually. But this is my point. If you again put the seed of something into people's minds, they will go out and look for it. And so because he's brought out the idea of that there's going to be a brother and sister, yes, and maybe he says sister and sister as well, but brother and sister, then people are going to be looking for it.
Yeah, and they'll get hilariously wrong results, like Aaron and Mike are related or something.
I don't know. I think that it's such a tricky one for Kyrie. I think the only way around it is to bring Nick into the fold of being traitor. And that Kyra will have to be honest with Nida, and Nida will have to keep the secret between them. But then that gives Nida a little bit of power.
They could keep it secret and then get rid of Nida, and then just have the brother and sister, the two traitors, and go to the end.
I think
that'd be fun.
I think they'd have to speak to. They'd have to give some information to Nida. I just can't see them doing.
So who else
is
up for the chop apart from?
Well,
Nick?
Nick's not up for the chop. It was only 3 that were up for the chop. It's just that Nick's name got mentioned.
Okay.
To be fair, again, it could have been in the edit that lots of names got mentioned. It's just that that's the one that they made a point of putting further forward. So Pac-Man's been put forward because he's so obviously a faithful that it's just an easy kill.
Got a bad knee as well, so can't do any mine.
Oh yeah, that was a weird one. Can we just discuss that as well? Nick chose Pac-Man to be on his team, and then Pac-Man was like, oh, I've got a bad knee. So he was like, oh, okay then, and then went to Mike. That seemed like an odd thing to do. Because Pac-Man still played the game, didn't he?
No, I don't think he did. He
did he
stood
not?
out. No.
Oh, okay then. I'll shut up. And Enoch, because he's got the influence, so people listen to him.
I think that would be a clever one to do.
I agree. I think Enoch's the one they need to go for. Laurie is the third one.
No, not Laurie.
Because she's so liked in the group. Yeah, but she's been quite savvy as well, and she's pointed out a few decent people.
Blonde woman, watch out.
Lauren's not blonde. Oh, Laurie. Sorry.
Laurie is.
I keep confusing Laurie with Lauren. No, I love Laurie. I love Laurie. I love her, the kindergarten teacher. Her writing, well, as soon as she turns, it looks like she's done it on like an iPad, like she's just typed the name. It's so neat. It's
like
so
font.
beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful.
Because she's a teacher, you see.
Exactly. She knows how to do cursive, and I love her for it.
She needs to make letters look happy, and she does.
Yeah. I bet you in her mind, as she writes the name, she actually goes through like the steps of doing curl it round, up, down, and flick. I just know that she does. Oh, I love Laurie so much. And Laurie, actually, I said about Lauren, but I would extend this to Laurie as well. I love the way she thinks, and I think she thinks logically. And I think if people just gave her a bit of a chance, I think that she's got a chance of picking some people out.
I think the best one would them to get rid of Enoch, because he's he holds a lot of influence, and I think that would split a lot of things up.
He holds the key, and yes, I agree. I think Enoch is, unfortunately, because I like Enoch, but I think he should be the one on the job. But as you said,
gameplay wise, I think it's the best option for them.
As you said, he's the only male amongst 2 other females. And
what, Pac-Man?
Oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. Yes.
You're getting confused with Lauren and Laurie, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah.
I worry that they
Pac-Man could stay for. He's just kind of there. He's not really.
Pac-Man's just kind of there. And to be honest with you, to say that he's an obvious faithful, so it'd be an easy one just to get rid of. I think that sometimes you need to keep the obvious faithful in the game,
because they'll vote to end the game when you're there still. Yeah. They'll be one of them.
Yeah, that's the long term though. That's if you're thinking really long term. But
right. So that's us then for a week. 1 episode a week in Canada, aren't we? We're on rations. So we're used to 3 a week, but no. 1 a week, guys. So that's us for the week.
I can only just cope with 1 a week.
I know. You can study the names this week.
Well, Laurie and Lauren.
They need to get rid of them. They need to get rid of Mike and Michael.
John.
Yeah.
Michael, John,
Nick
Mary
and Nichelle.
Jo,
It's just
Nichelle, Nick, Lauren, Laurie. Bloody hell. What are they doing to us?
I know. It's too many.
Melinda, the one that confuses me the most is when Melinda's not in drag.
Yeah. She's only in drag once.
I look, I'm going, who the fuck is that? Like, oh, it's Melinda, of course.
Laziest drag queen I've ever seen on the Traitors.
I know, one lazy bitch. Although, to be fair, I get it, because, you know, it's not
the
that
drag queen
important.
last series did the mission in drag. And there was explosions and uphill running and heels, and then she got thrown out first thing.
I mean, we don't do drag, so we don't know how much work it takes to look that great. However, true. But that's not very nice to Melinda.
Lazy drag queen.
But I think that Melinda should come to the round table in drag. But then maybe it kind of takes away her
Maybe on the final.
power.
It's her way to get to the final. She was like, I'll do drag if
Oh, it
you
would
take me
look
to
good,
the final.
especially if she's throwing the pouches in and the green comes up. She'll be like pantomime villain. She'd be amazing. But so
Kareen
yes,
only had 2 outfits this week, not 3. She
Kareen's
didn't
lazy.
turn up for breakfast.
yeah, she didn't.
She was
turn
busy
up.
planting bombs in her field
That's true.
with a shovel.
They were quite dangerous. Those bombs.
They
I must
were,
mention
the
that
people
as well.
literally touched them and they were like, run away, and then it blew up like in everyone's face, especially Nick, who luckily jumped out of the way.
Wait, it didn't blow up in Nick's face, did it? Because he did a flipping cartwheel,
There
tumbled into the
he
air.
felt the shrapnel on his back, actually, is what he said.
Yes.
It was very dangerous.
Was it Jasmine or Lauren who said that she felt it in her chest cavity?
Oh, who was that? I think it was Lauren.
Was it? It's
I think so,
I felt
yeah.
an explosion in my chest cavity. I feel, ooh.
Very descriptive.
That's description.
So if people wanted to get in touch with us this week to let us know what they think about the things, how can they?
Well, you can let us know if you think of the 3 who you think is going to get murdered, be either Pac-Man, Enoch or Laurie, and also who might get banished next week. Will Kirkland survive another roundtable? Come to us by email by going to sending us an email on faithfultothetraitors@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter @Traitors Podcast, Instagram and Threads @faithfultothetraitors. You can find us on YouTube. Don't forget to comment below the video if you're watching us on YouTube. Just search Faithful to the Traitors Podcast or BAM Productions. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of your favorite podcast apps, don't forget to rate us, give us 5 stars on all the platforms. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, give us a follow, all that, just comment, just interact with us, tell your friends about us, tell your mum about us, tell your illegitimate brother or sister about us. Go to buymeacoffee.com/faithful if you want to help the show monetize the show, help us along with that. You can go to WhatsApp group by scanning the QR code somewhere on the screen right now or looking at our notes, and that gives you information of when we'll be releasing new episodes. And is that it? I think that's everything.
I think that's enough.
Good. That gets longer and longer, I swear, every time.
Think
Like
of
when
that
we
on other
first started
shows.
doing the podcast, I'm sure I used to just say email us.
They can just do that too.
And now it's just do this, do this, do this. Please,
But only if you want to.
please, contestants of the show, let us know your pets. Let us know their names. Send us pictures. We'll put them on screen
Oh,
so
yes.
you can see them. And yeah, do you ride a bike to work?
No, we're not asking that question. There may be how many jobs do you have? Do you have 7 careers like everyone seems to?
Do you have a podcast? A record?
Have you had a 20-year divorce?
20 year that sounds like a show, doesn't it? That sounds like a reality show.
By Mary Jo.
The 20-year divorce.
Right, so we will see you next week. And remember, until then, stay faithful.